A U.S. judge is making headlines for putting a teenager on a field trip to his courtroom in jail clothes and handcuffs because she kept falling asleep and he didn't like her attitude. The big question is, was he out of order? Sasha, I'm gonna throw this one to you. Audience, you all agree?
I'm gonna say yes, because I can understand sometimes, you know, you see an opportunity to be able to correct a behavior and attitude. However, I think I understand the intent, but the impact of something like that can be quite traumatizing for a young student. And like, did it happen in front of her classmates? And it can be very drawing. We don't know what their life is like at home or what they might be going through. And on the flip side, as a parent, I would blow a gasket if I heard.
Definitely. There would be a lawsuit.
Hey, I totally agree. Like, the idea of falling asleep doesn't seem like the right thing to make an example of that student for, because we don't know. Like, immediately my mind went to, maybe she's working very late at night and things like that. But let me ask you this. If that student, and we have teachers in the audience, right? Okay, interesting. If that student was someone who was at such a disruptive level that the other students couldn't learn, nothing could be done, and that student was ruining the experience for everyone, I secretly would be applauding that judge for doing that. Do I condone it? In public, I would be like, oh, you're not allowed to do that. But it's like in the movie theater when someone's on the phone and herd mentality takes over, and everyone's just polite, but then someone goes up and says, turn off your phone.
I'm that person.
And you're cheering for that person. You're that person.
I'm that person. I know I'm gonna be the outlier in this room, but I think one day this young woman will thank this judge. Because I think we have to keep in mind, this was a black judge talking to a black young woman. And as a judge, I'm sure he sees these types of situations all the time where he's like, you're falling asleep now, but I see lots of young people like you in front of me begging for their freedom, and I know the way the system works. Once you have certain charges, that sticks with you, and once you're in the system, you can never get out of the system. So I feel like what he was trying to do was wake her up. And I know we're in the soft parenting era, but let's be real, there are some kids who you need to get a little bit harder with them, just to wake them up. And you know what, in life, there are gonna be a lot of people that you're gonna meet, but very few people really care about you and your future and what happens to you. And the people who really care, sometimes they gotta get in your face and say things that are uncomfortable, but that's because they care. Because the people who don't care and don't say anything really aren't interested if you end up anywhere in life. And you know, when you think about the African-American population in the United States is 13% African-American, and they make up 37% of the people who are incarcerated. Just let that sit there. So I'm sure he's looking at her like, listen, I'm gonna do you a favor. You get to go home. I'm gonna put you in the jail clothes. I'm gonna handcuff you, but you get to go home. And I might be saving you because the next time you're in front of a judge, you may not get to take it off and go home. I'm trying to wake you up.
That's interesting you say that, because I read in the story, I believe, that he has offered to the parents for him to be a mentor.
That's interesting.
Their daughter.
I feel like that feels like more of the first step for me. And then with the parents working on something where like, okay, we're gonna set this up or something. I think it would just feel so jarring. I mean,
you know, to me, this is tough love, right? And I think a lot of us are of the generation. We were probably raised with some kind of parenting.
We were raised in a show like this.
Scared straight. You know. But the one thing I think for me, and you know, I think a lot of educators will probably understand this, is you've got to ask the question why. So why is this happening? And we can make all kinds of assumptions, but I remember being raised with tough love, and it didn't make me a better person. It just built a lot of resentment. And I think if we're trying to do behavior change, forcing someone with tough love into behavior change is not actually behavior change, it's just compliance. And that's a very different discussion than you care about me or whatever. I think the mentoring thing is much more interesting and will perhaps bear more positive fruit than the idea of tough love and throwing in jail.
Mentoring takes a lot of time.
But you know what? A kid at 16 who's already,
he may never ever see that girl again. She's on a field trip.
But she only fell asleep.
This is not a student. She just fell asleep. We weren't there to see how she fell asleep. Was she being disruptive? Was she throwing herself everywhere, just kind of going, oh, this is so... We don't know. But what I'm saying is mentoring can happen between a teacher and a student because that kid is in your class for months. She is on a field trip. This may be the last time you can ever reach her and say, I want you to wake up, because the next time you're in a courtroom, it may be a very different situation for you, and I won't be there to save you. So that's all I'm saying.
This was good. Really good conversation. Hey there, what did you think? Drop your comments below and join the conversation. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you can find more on everything from food and fashion to pop culture and current events. See you soon.